Art history often feels like stepping into an ancient library, lined with heavy tomes, dust-covered shelves, and neatly inscribed plaques bearing the names of great masters. Almost all of the names on the plaques belonged to men, but that does not mean that women were absent from art. Rather, the pages about them were simply never written. For a long time, art history was shaped by those who recorded it: scholars, collectors, and researchers from different parts of the world. Nearly always, women were ignored, their presence fading into the margins of the workshops. They were called muses, sources of inspiration, wives of artists, but not artists themselves. Even in Europe, which for several centuries dominated the academic description of art, women's names were only rarely included among those considered worthy of remembrance. It was the age of the suffragists and the battle for women's rights that brought the change. Historians began to reconsider the archives, uncover forgotten names, and of course they revealed that women had always played an important role in art. Women painted, created textiles, sculpture, and graphics. With each story found, art gained yet another point of view, because women's experience offers another perspective on the same themes: life, the body, fear, love, and memory.
Темы, они всегда максимально универсальны. То есть, соответственно, есть художницы, которые раскрывают как раз
Artistic themes may be universal. There are women artists who reveal precisely the female view of the world. They speak of the same subjects as other artists, but from their own perspective, from their own side.
стороны.
A man cannot speak about the experience a woman has lived because he simply is not standing in her place.
Потому что он
And when we listen to what women have to say, the picture of the world literally becomes twice as rich, twice as vivid, twice as engaging, only because it is told from the perspective that completes the whole.
мира становится вдвое богаче, вдвое ярче, вдвое интересней, только потому, что она рассказана с другой стороны.
Many great women artists share an intriguing common trait. Their biographies read like adventure novels. These stories often contain too much pain, too many changes, strange coincidences, and unexpected turns of fate. Consider the life of Frida Kahlo. As a young woman, she suffered a terrible car accident. Doctors literally had to piece her body back together. Months of immobility, plaster, and pain followed. For most people, that would have marked the end of ordinary life. For her, it became the beginning of art. Looking at the mirror fixed above her bed, she began to paint self-portraits. This was the birth of one of the most recognizable artistic languages of the 20th century. Her paintings speak of fear, of loneliness, and at the same time of the incredible strength of the human spirit. Frida transformed personal tragedy into a language everyone can understand. Across countries and cultures, people grasp her without translation, since life and death, love and loss are truths that unite us all.
На примере Фриды Кало мы буквально видим восприятие мира, что нельзя отделить все на только плохое, только хорошее, что все зависит от
Through Frida Kahlo, we see the world whole. She proves that life isn't just black and white, it's a matter of perspective.
Фрида Кало прошла очень жестокий, сложный как раз-таки путь, но тем не менее
Her struggle was her strength, a cruel path that led her to her truest self. Even now we feel the weight of her doubts and the pulse of her pain.
по всему миру и в сегодняшнее время также хорошо чувствуют ее страсть.
With a language of metaphors and striking symbols, she speaks to the core of our existence, life, death, and the threads that connect them. Frida touches the themes that belong to everyone, everywhere.
Кажется, здесь сталкиваются универсальные вопросы жизни, смерти, продолжения, экзистенциальные, наверное, такие темы, которые касаются каждого.
Art always carries the atmosphere of the place it comes from. French paintings feel steeped in coffee and the air above the Seine. Mexican paintings in the dust of roads and the bustle of bright markets. Women artists often feel this bond with their homeland especially deeply. Frida Kahlo stands as a powerful example. Her art cannot be separated from Mexican culture. In her paintings, we see folk costumes, ancient symbols, bold ornaments, echoes of the pre-Columbian civilizations. Out of these deeply personal roots come ideas that go on to reshape the direction of art.
Очень интересные есть примеры биографии жизни и творчества, к примеру, Софии Делоне.
If we talk about Sonia Delone, born in Ukraine, she found her creative pulse in France alongside her husband, painter Robert Delone. Together they chased a new genre. But Sonia's spark was found in the fabric of everyday life, in patchwork and quilting.
Помогли создать совершенно новый жанр в искусстве. София Делоне, она занималась таким патчворкингом, лоскутным шитьем.
Literally sewing blankets for her child, she stumbled upon a revolution. Those rhythmic patterns and accidental combinations became the very engine of modern abstraction. It's a reminder that sometimes the future of art isn't found in a gallery, it's stitched together at home.
Одеяло для своего ребенка. И этот узор, эти случайные, получается, соотношения, как будто бы невзначай стали одним из многих таких двигателей современного абстрактного искусства.
In textbooks, the history of world art is often told through a Western lens, through the movements that unfolded in Paris, London, or New York. Yet there have always been other stories, ones happening much closer to home. Kazakhstan has always had a deep interest in its own art, and today that interest is coming into sharper focus. More and more audiences are turning to the art of Kazakhstan and Central Asia, seeing it as an essential part of the global story of art. People want to know their culture more deeply, to grasp its unique meanings and its living connection across generations. This is why the creativity of women artists in Central Asia feels so vivid today. Their paintings bring tradition and modernity together. In them, you can see the vast steppe, ancient ornaments, family stories, and memories.
Мне кажется, что касается центральноазиатского региона, еще начиная с...
Look closely at the 1970s in Central Asia and you'll see the seeds of a revolution. From artistic collectives to intimate creative duos, the work was always happening. But now something has changed. Society is tuned in. We are moving beyond global icons to discover the masters in our own backyard.
Общество готово услышать не только о далеких каких-то мировых примерах и историях, но и заинтересовано в том, чтобы знать о своем
For
собственном.
a new generation in Kazakhstan and across the region, our own history has become the most exciting story of all. It's a search for uniqueness, a desire to build a future using the colors, patterns and voices that feel like home.
Современному казахстанцу или жителю Центральной Азии становится интересна своя собственная история, он видит в ней уникальность, он хочет брать за основу то, что ему близко, то, что ему понятно.
Kazakh art evolved where deep traditions met new institutions of learning. By the early 20th century, a professional art scene was beginning to emerge. Academies, exhibitions, and museums opened their doors, and with them came new names, many of them women. These artists brought fresh perspectives, weaving modern practices into the fabric of tradition. One of the first to leave a lasting impression was Gulfaruz Ismailova, painter, actress, stage designer. She worked in theater, painted portraits, and designed productions. Her canvases often portrayed Kazakh women not as decorative figures, but as living, breathing presences. For her, art was never about beauty alone, it was about life. Another name is Aisha Galimbaeva. Her paintings seem filled with sunlight. She painted still lifes, everyday scenes, and portraits. On her canvases, you find ordinary objects, jugs, fabrics, fruit. Yet in these simple things, you feel the character of an entire culture. In recent decades, Kazakhstan has seen the rise of new artistic collectives, independent projects, and experimental forms. Women have played a prominent role in these processes. Contemporary Kazakh art is impossible to imagine without artists such as Leyla Makat, Saule Suleymanova, and Almagul Menlibaeva. Each works in her own way: painting, video art, installations, experimental techniques. Yet they are united by one aim: to tell the story of their country through a deeply personal lens.
Глобально, если посмотреть, есть много разных тенденций в искусстве, в сфере искусства. Можно назвать несколько из них, например...
Trends come and go, but today's art world is defined by three major forces. First, the end of boundaries. High art and applied craft are finally becoming one.
Как таковым высоким искусством, классическим, традиционным, академическим.
Second, the collapse of distance between art and industry. Today, fashion, design, and fine art are inseparable.
Со многими другими индустриями и направлениями, как та же самая мода, дизайн, фэшн и искусство, они...
And finally, the digital revolution. New materials and new media are forcing a total rethink of the creative process. This isn't just progress, it's a push toward a new way of seeing, creating and experiencing the world around us.
Цифровое искусство, медиумы, новые техники – все это как раз-таки является толчком к экспериментам и к новым моделям, к новым паттернам в искусстве.
Sometimes art needs very little: walls, light, and people willing to look. A few years ago, a Kazakhstani company decided to experiment. Not in a gallery, not in an academy, but inside a car dealership, an art exhibition appeared. At first, it was a small photography project. Then painting was added, and soon the idea grew so large it reached the national level. The organizers expected interest, but not the scale. Nearly thousands of works were submitted to the competition, an almost unbelievable number for an art project. Only 200 were selected for display at the National Museum.
Our company supports a wide range of social projects in sports, in music, in the promotion of the Kazakh language and national identity. Art is a vital language, and for us, it's a priority. That's why we didn't sponsor Ayeltizginde, we organized it. We are now in our third year, and our vision is only getting bolder. What's particularly striking about this edition is its reach. Every artist featured is Kazakhstani, yet their works arrived from all corners of the world. Despite the pressures of time and distance, we brought these global perspectives back to Kazakhstan. It has given the exhibition an international character, a testament to the fact that our culture isn't just local, it's a global conversation.
Among the participants were both professional artists and those just beginning their creative journey. For many, the exhibition at the National Museum became their first major step into the art world. Sometimes, such recognition takes decades. Sometimes the opportunity arrives unexpectedly. The themes of the works were diverse: motherhood, strength of character, the beauty of everyday life, the breaking of stereotypes.
The theme was clear: gender stereotypes, and the response was a movement. In this exhibition, stereotypes don't just fade, they dissolve. These artists have stayed true to a singular purpose: to challenge the given and reveal the true. As you move through the space, we hope these works serve as a mirror and a catalyst. We want every viewer to recognize once again the indispensable role of the woman in our collective story.
Art has a curious habit. Male artists have often been forgiven much in history. Poverty, eccentricity, obsession with work, these were seen as almost romantic. For women, the path was always harder. They were asked a question rarely posed to men: what matters more, art or life? History offers many answers, often starkly different. Camille Claudel, a brilliant sculptor and student of Rodin, spent much of her time in a psychiatric clinic, her works long attributed to her teacher. Artemisia Gentileschi in 17th century Italy endured a notorious trial and public scandal, yet continued to paint, becoming one of the country's most renowned women artists. Every era invented its own trials for women artists. Some had to fight for the right to study, others for the right to exhibit, still others simply for the right to be heard. Yet one detail recurs in their stories. True artists rarely choose art as a profession. More often, art chooses them. That is why so many women continued to create against all odds, despite social expectations, financial hardship, or family circumstances. For them, art was never just a career. It was a way of thinking, a way of feeling the world.
Наверное, чисто для меня это выбор, сложный
We
выбор.
often talk about the beauty of art, but we rarely talk about the cost. Choosing this life means putting your personal and financial stability at risk, often in the face of a society that doesn't yet understand your role. It's a choice that requires immense courage.
Общество
And yet,
будет
for the artists we've met, that choice is almost an illusion.
огромное,
To them, creating is as natural and as necessary as breathing.
когда
They're compelled to share their world through their craft, regardless of the difficulty. What we see as a brief decision, they see as an inescapable destiny.
свое искусство. Но тем не менее, со стороны это действительно сложный выбор.
Women today work across painting, graphics, photography, video art, and installation. Sometimes their art turns to the past, to family memory and the heritage of a people. Sometimes it speaks to the present, to cities, technology, and change. These artists tell stories that once rarely found a place in public space. Stories of childhood, of motherhood, of inner strength, of choosing between personal life and creativity. And alongside these, they speak of universal themes of time, of beauty, of the human experience.
Всегда бывают определенные тенденции.
There are always certain trends, certain demands from society, the things people are interested in. And the
Интересно.
artist is always part of that society. What fascinates others fascinates the artist as well.
Ему
In that sense, they are no different from anyone else, except for one thing. Through their art, they choose to speak about it. That's a distinction.
разве что
The
только
artist is drawn to the same questions as their community, but they express them in the language of creativity.
Поэтому художнику интересно то же, что и интересно его обществу.
Contemporary art thrives on blurring boundaries. Today, painting can merge with fashion, design with photography, and traditional crafts with digital technologies. New materials and new forms become a stage for experimentation. In this process, galleries, curators, researchers, and exhibitions play a vital role. They create spaces where artists can speak to audiences, where ideas gather and transformed into a dialogue between society and itself. And perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is that it is only just beginning. Perhaps decades from now, art historians will tell their students that the early 21st century was the moment when Kazakhstan rediscovered its women artists. And then it will become clear, women never were standing on the margins of art. All along, they were writing their own part of the story.